Hi, Helena.
Hi, Adam.
And Merry Christmas to all of our listeners, because it's that time of year. We've hit the silly season, and if you're going to be silly, this is the place to do it. Like, I feel like we've already brought a lot of silliness. So, I reckon that's the way we're going to roll. And this episode is our season wrap. Do you know what I should have done? I should have prepared a Spotify wrap of this episode, because we know we've done, this is going to be the 36th episode. I think we've racked up over 12,000 minutes, something like that so far. But I don't know any of the stats. I should have prepared that. Maybe I'll bring that back for when we come back. So we're gonna take a break over the Christmas period, and we'll be back in the new year. But in the meantime, Helena, before we get to our silly season Christmas episode, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Ho, ho, ho. My name is Helena Dix, and
Tell us a bit about yourself. I'm a ho, ho, ho.
I'm a ho, 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 operatic Santa Claus. My name is Helena Dix. I am an Australian soprano who travels the globe causing chaos, mayhem, and ho-ho-hos with her high notes. I am absolutely loving being in the summer again for Christmas. I love to sing. I love to laugh. I love to walk my dog. And I love doing this podcast. It's a lot of fun.
It really is. It really, really is. And my name is Adam Miller. I'm a former opera singer turned producer, writer and director. And Helena, you and I have worked together in lots of different capacities. And now it's the podcasting capacity. And we've done a year of this. We were just talking before we started recording.
Wow.
About how crazy this year has been. This time last year, this podcast didn't exist. I think we'd recorded a few of the episodes.
Right.
Had we? Yes, we had. We'd recorded a few episodes, but it hadn't gone out in the world. We didn't know anything about what we were going to do. So it's been a heck of a year.
I think just we didn't know anything. You could have just stopped there. we didn't know anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was part of the journey for me, going, I love listening to podcasts. Now I want to know how to make a podcast. And that was half the journey for me, going, oh, yeah, I really know nothing about how to make this nonsense. And it's been a joy. Having a go.
Is it good or bad that it feels like more than a year that we've been doing it? I don't know whether that's a compliment or an insult to the recording process, but it feels like much longer.
I'm going to say it's a compliment. Let's go with compliment. If for no other reason than now podcasting feels ubiquitous for us. Like, it's a thing we do. Oh yeah, we podcast. We make a thing.
Ooh, ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous.
Look at you and your big fancy words.
Oh, that's half the battle. It's just trying to remember when to use the big words and when not to use the big words.
I wonder if when we're listening back, the AI auto-translate will actually get ubiquitous, or where it will give you something else. If you've said it so that it's fine, because when you say things, the AI auto-translate knows what you're saying. But as we've found out, dear listeners...
Oh, you mean the auto caption?
The auto caption, yes. So, dear listeners, if you ever are in doubt of my immense skills, please turn on the auto caption and listen and watch, I should say, with glee, as Helena's words are not always what they appear to be.
Oh my God, it is hilarious. I love it. Oh, you see, it's not gonna translate that. Now I'm gonna have to go and watch that.
Now I just want to go supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and just to see what happens.
But you can't do any more than that, or you have to pay for the rights.
I'm done.
See, it's funny you say auto translate earlier, right? Which is where my brain went, because I own a bank of AI apps, and one of them does auto translate. So it will take your voice and it will translate it into a foreign language. And for a little while, dear listeners, I toyed with the idea of expanding the range of this podcast to non-English speakers and going, well, it could just take us and we could turn it into foreign language. And I went, it didn't really feel authentic. It didn't feel right. But I had a little play with it, and it is so interesting hearing my voice actually do accents properly. Like, I speak a heck of a good French accent when I'm using AI. It's great. It does all the work for me, and I just listen.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the only time.
It sounds
for
good.
Sure. Yeah,
it is, and that's really where I went. Oh, that's not legit. That's not real. I can't.
And maybe
pull that
my
off.
Welsh accent won't sound Indian if you put it into
or
Welsh.
Jamaican, for that matter. Could be anything.
Yeah, I'm a classy broad. That's me. I can't believe it's been a year, Adam. Gosh, I mean, That's insane. And we've had so many wonderful guests and so many discussions and a real variety of topics. I'd be really curious from our listeners to get their feedback on maybe what their highlight was, because I know from yourself and myself, speaking to different people who listen to the podcast, albeit, singers themselves or people who aren't in the industry at all, there's such a big variety of favorites,
Yeah.
with all the different people and guests and things that we've had on, and all the different subject matters and things like that. So it's really fascinating. So I really call out to everyone who listens regularly to the podcast to let us know what their all-time favourite would be. And I know that the first person that's going to let us know will be Mark Cunningham, none other than our delightful Welsh tenor.
What do you think his highlight's going to be, if not himself?
His highlight's going to be himself. It's got to be himself. But we'll have to give him a rule. We'll have to say, it can't be the one he was on. Oh, I don't know what his highlight will be. He does give us epic feedback on all of it, though, which I love.
And our audience won't know, of course, that we recorded a dedicated episode just for him that we sent to him when he wasn't well for a little while. And we're like, mate, you've got your own episode. So I would like to think that will be his highlight, but we'll find out.
Although, Adam, now I'm curious that you've put that out into the public. People will be thinking that they too have the opportunity for us to record a private podcast episode just for them. So let's put it on the Christmas wish list. We could start selling it. That's what I'm thinking.
It can go in the merch store along with the duck and
Yes,
the cups.
exactly.
Yeah, this is it.
Yes. Alongside Jamie Barton Duck, we have personalized podcast episodes for your loved ones or for your nemesis.
I was going to say, it feels much more nemesis.
If you dislike someone, send us the details, send us a bit about them. We will do a podcast episode just for them.
Don't say that. People will do it. And then we'll feel bad when we're like, no, I'm not doing that.
See, I've done like nice things where I've done personalized, songs and stuff for people that haven't been very well. Fans have reached out to me and asked me to do things like that. But I've never done like a nemesis podcast personalized.
Nemesis podcast.
There's something saucy about that.
What would you say on the Nemesis podcast? It's like, and this is the podcast coming to tell you you suck.
Coming to tell you that next will be on your doorstep. With my high notes.
At 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m. Yeah, exactly. I'd start with my old neighbours and work my way up from there.
Oh, my God. Yes. We know that in the holster, we've got Mark Cunningham going to give us some highlights. What's your highlight of, let's start with highlight of the podcast for this year.
Gosh, there's so many. Look, the Three Tenors finale to season 1.
Oh, my God.
It's probably the one I've listened to the most over and over because it just, every time I listen, and there's another highlight or something I've missed, or another quack to count out, or something. That was certainly just chaotic fun. I think as far as I've loved all of our guests, but I think the podcasts that have given me the most to think about, I think, were both Melissa's one that we had just recently. Just because I came in knowing who she was and what she does, but the information that I got from it and the things that it gave me to think about, and also Helen Ho's one from earlier, our lovely agent from the UK. I really enjoyed that as well, just in the sense that I guess, you and I do this podcast originally because we loved to chat, and nothing has certainly changed there. And I think when we kind of started the podcast, I just wanted to talk crap and have a good time. And if anyone else enjoyed it, it was a bonus. But since then, we've had some really interesting people on, and I've loved our chats with our fellow artists, Ben Northey. Early on, we had Eddie on. We've had Ellie. We've had so many fantastic.
Eddie, our guinea pig.
Yeah,
that's right. Like, we brought him in and going, we'll try it out. Let's see if we can do. We had no idea if we could even interview a guest.
No, that's true. And I guess all of those chats with colleagues and friends, when we're just chatting about their life and about how interesting it is, it's just a really great excuse to have a catch up, and talk about stuff. But I think for me, the ones that have kind of made me think about things or inspired me to come out with different ideas that I can pass on to other people would be those two, I think, because Helen's view on the industry and on the management side of things, I find really interesting as someone who is now also a mentor for young people. So that episode, I think, for me, got a lot of the cogs turning with advice that I could give, or just different ways to think about things. And of course, Melissa's one last week and talking about, her role as what she does and supporting young people and bringing the next generation forward. Again, as a mentor, I found that really, really, really fascinating just because it gives me interesting thoughts about ideas that I could have to move things forward, or you know what I mean? For me, I found those two informative in a way that I didn't necessarily expect to. And so I'd say those would be highlights. But otherwise, just talking to you and talking to friends and colleagues and hearing wonderful stories and hearing wonderful inspiration and people's lives and where they started and where they've got to now. And we move it in such a fast-paced life that nowadays in 2025 we don't often stop and reflect on the journey that we've had to get here. And I love that about every single one of our guests that we've had, because we've always asked them, where did it start and where is it now? And it's just really lovely because it's so variable. Like if you look at someone, the chat we had with Jamie Barton where she was talking about starting out in Georgia and listening to the radio on her bed.
Yeah,
and
that was so interesting.
Feeling like she was rebellious because she was listening to classical music, right through to, Christine and Brian on our Wagner episode talking about, how they felt a bit awkward at the beginning of their careers and not quite fitting in with all that stuff. So it has just been so many gems. But I think for hilarity, the three tenors, like by far.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And just those where I came out thinking, gosh, those have given me a lot to think about, not just an enjoyable chat, but they've actually given me thoughts in my little soprano pea brain. What about yourself? What's been your highlight of the year?
Oh God, there have been so many. I've got to say, a highlight for me, weirdly, has been some of the process. Mm-hmm. So behind the scenes, I edit these down, and just listening to the bits that end up on the cutting room floor are sometimes really, really interesting and just don't quite kind of meet in the conversation. But I've loved listening to it. I've also loved just some of the sheer insanity that you, me, and the guests have sometimes said that are entirely inappropriate to go out to air. That can't be shared with the world. But then I get the privilege of hearing it, and every once in a while I send it to you and go, listen to this one. And I've loved that. Like there is something about sitting there editing a podcast and just kind of crying with laughter, going, well, I can't share that. That can't go out in the world. That's not right.
Yep.
The other part for me has really been the stories. I love stories, so I'm obsessed with autobiographies, right? Mm-hmm. And hearing people's stories and their journeys always just lights up my brain. And I've loved being part of the chronicling of some of these. Some of the stories, and the number of times that I come away listening to the podcast again, or editing it down, or even just at the end of the chat going, oh, these people need to write books. Like there are just some amazing lives that you want them to share this as far and as wide as they can. I think for me that's been a real highlight this year, and something that in my wildest dreams I'd hoped we would be able to achieve when we started to bring on guests, but it has far exceeded the wildest dreams that I'd had for what we could do and what we would do. It's been very, very cool, I have to say.
I am very cool, so thank you. Yeah.
So then let's go the whole year. You've had a heck of a year. So if we're not just focusing on the podcast, what's the highlight of 2025 for you?
God. You mean professionally or personally?
I'm going to say either. Like let's go with either.
Oh, Jesus. Professionally, I would say before I left London, I made my debut in the role of La Straniera. We talked about that as the stranger, Adelaide, the one with the weird story that I had to look up several times.
The weirdest story ever.
Still didn't understand.
Weren't we going to do some challenge around that where you had to wait? Maybe we'll save that for the Nemesis podcast. When you can just go and read someone your interpretation of that story.
Yeah,
and
the Dummy's
will
Guide.
be something to give your enemy.
The Dummy's Guide to La Straniera. Actually, that would be terrifying. So it was professionally probably the highlight of my year because it was a debut role. It's an unknown opera. It's bel canto. It's like right up my street. And it just, oh my God, I would just wish the story was better so that I could do it everywhere in the world and they could actually perform it better. It's not justifiable because it's so ridiculous. In concert, it's phenomenal. It's just one of those operas similar to Norma, where once I kind of worked the score through, I was like, it's just so wonderful. I absolutely fell in love with it. And I guess, it also had a double-edged sword because Chelsea Opera Group, who I performed it with in London, the big organisation in London that do concert operas that are not readily performed. So I've worked with them over my 22 years in London. I've probably for the last, 10 or 12 years, I've worked with them either every year or every other year doing a concert opera. And they, as an orchestra and as an organisation, as a chorus, are just like home to me. Over the years, I've gotten to know them. And in a big world of opera and in a big world like London, you don't often get that. You often, as a freelancer, passed on from company to company. And you do go back to places, of course. I know Scottish opera held a big place in your heart. And so for me, it was a double-edged sword because it was my final performance in London. It was with the group that I've worked with for the last 12 years or so. And the opera was just spectacular, on a musical level. And so I think emotionally, physically, mentally, I think that was probably my highlight because it held so many stakes for me. I guess that's probably why. And I really genuinely wish it had been recorded because we had a gorgeous cast as well. It was really smashing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think that's probably, I've had fantastic, I've been in Madrid. I've done all kinds of things this year, but that's probably my highlight. Yeah.
And are you just classifying that as your professional highlight, or is that your whole highlight for the whole year?
I think professional highlight. I think my personal highlight is much more intimate and not nearly as spectacular as that. My personal highlight would be moving into my new house and having my mum over for a cup of tea on the deck and, sitting with her.
Yeah.
With that feeling of moving forward together in the same space after 22 years apart. That would probably be my personal kind of thing. Just that moment of this is real now. We actually did it. It's been such a crazy year with the move and everything that's gone on, really, and so many unexpected things in my personal life. Not all of them fantastic, and so lots of battles uphill this year. And so just to kind of sit with her outside with a cup of tea and just sit there and be like, oh, this is life now. It's just wonderful. So yeah, much more simple kind of personal reflection, I guess. How about yourself? Have you had highlights both professionally and personally this year? I mean, apart from working with me, obviously, which is the obvious answer.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. I'd say professionally, it's a weird one that comes immediately to mind. My eldest daughter released a single online, gained some quite nice popularity, but I was running a workshop the week that it came out. And while I was getting participants in the workshop to do a whole bunch of work at their tables, I play background music, right? Because you just hate that dead silence in there. Mm-hmm. And I had a playlist on, and it's kind of some nice background music, and it works well. And her song came on in the playlist, and again, it was Spotify, so it was actually algorithmically tuned to the stuff that I listened to. But it was really nice that it came on organically, and people like. I didn't mention that it was hers, but people are like, oh, this is great. I like your music. This is, I'm like, yay, that's a thing. And I was and that has really stuck out in my head this year because it was, when my personal life and my professional life kind of came together. So, a real moment of paternal pride there.
That's sweet.
And on a personal level, God, I think for me, look, you and I have chatted about this off camera and off microphone, but I've been on a big kind of health journey this year of just trying to get healthy and drop a lot of weight. And
you've done amazingly.
Well, thank you. But yeah, I've hit some of those goals that I've really aimed for. And, it's a journey. I've still got a way to go. But that's been huge and a real defining feature of this year for me, because this was the year that I try really hard in everything else I do. I try to work to set a target, hit that target, work on what the goals are, move towards it. And I never prioritized myself when it came to my health. And changing that little mindset for myself has been a big, big highlight for me, going, yep, no, just prioritize that part of your life right now. So that's been huge for me. Really, really big.
And not only like the outcomes of it, but your just your attitude towards things. I mean, you used to give me so much crap for getting up early. And now you're up early and, at the gym and like sending me messages and telling me funny stories and the fact that you're out of bed, way before the other version of Adam would have ever been. The other version of Adam would have been like, what are you doing? What are you doing, idiot?
I would have been going to bed when I now wake up to go to the gym. It's horrendous. And honestly, the little micro highlights across all of that experience is every time I go to the gym, there's just a new form of humiliation of the things that I can't quite do or I do really badly. And that's usually the message that you get. I'll be leaving the gym and I drop you a voice note going, so today I fell off a thing. So today I nearly killed someone by kicking them because I fell off a thing.
Someone.
Today, or I flicked something at someone. You name it. And I will get it wrong. If I can use a piece of equipment wrong, even today, oh my God. So we were doing like this fast cardio circuit. And I was kind of not running up to, but, very quickly getting onto one of the bio bikes, one of the exercise bikes. And I hop on and I'm pedaling away. But of course, in my haste to get on it, I hadn't adjusted the seat. I was just trying to keep my heart rate up and get on with it. And one of the people in the gym came past and went, would you like me to fix that seat for you? And that's when I had that external image of myself, because my knees were basically up around my ears and I'm pedaling away as fast as I could go. And I must have looked like one of those clowns on a tricycle pumping away. And I must have looked ridiculous because she was laughing. And I'm like, there we go. This is my humiliation for the day. And so I gently hopped off and fixed the seat and then I could ride it normally. But I went, this is my fitness journey is really just a series of humiliating moments.
That reminds me when I was at school and, I've always been, a big girl and the kids in my school who were into sports they were assholes. Like, let's not put it anything less than that. And not all of them, I should say, but the real kind of jockey ones were, and they thought they'd be funny to put me in the school athletics team because, I wasn't, that way inclined. But I'd always try and go to the sports days and be part of my house and be part of the cheer squad and do what I could. And some schmuck was sick and they had a space in the hurdles, like jumping the hurdles, and they put me in it because they thought it'd be funny. I guess that's what they thought it'd be funny. Like watch the fat kid like try and jump over the hurdles. So, the thing is, I guess I'm appreciative of the fact that I've been sassy most of my life, like even as a kid.
Yeah.
And I stood there and I thought, well, you've got two choices here, Dix. You can either be laughed at or be laughed with. And so talking about humiliation in sports, they said, on your marks, get set, go. I ran like a bat out of hell. You could see the surprise on the other kids' faces, like, why is the fat girl running so fast? Like, what's going on here? And then for every hurdle, I would never just jump over it because I just wouldn't have made it. I would have looked absolutely foolish. And like physically, there's no way I could have jumped over all those hurdles. So every hurdle I decided to like bring a new character choice to the hurdle. So one of the hurdles I was like in a strip club and I like did like I pretended to like, hit it with my leather whip and make love to it. One of them I actually tried to crawl under and I got my ass stuck, which actually made me like pee my pants a little bit. And I had the whole of the bleachers or whatever they're called, like the whole of the stands were just crying with laughter and like cheering me on. And so each one I knocked one over, I pretended to hit one with my ass, I did a whole lot of things. I got in so much trouble, but I have to tell you, yeah. So I got to the end, and most of the staff who were like volunteering that day at the school athletics day were crying and laughing and giving me hugs and thinking it was the most hilarious thing I'd ever done in my life, which is surely should not have been the pinnacle of my school theatre life, but nevertheless. And the head of sport was like blowing her whistle. She hated me with a vengeance, and she was like, "You're disqualified!" And then the whole of the everyone cheered. And I took a curtsy, took a bow. I got in so much trouble. I actually got sent to the principal's office not long after.
Wow. So you didn't win. is what you're saying.
I won on the inside. I won.
It was a moral victory. We like that.
It really was, actually. And I actually look back at it and I feel incredibly proud because they were bullying me. Like that was a bullying attempt. And at my school, sport was a really huge thing as it is in a lot of, these kind of private schools in Australia who focus on sport and all that kind of thing. I was not an athlete, not every kid has to be that kid, and it's not even half obvious. Like, it was immensely obvious that I would not have been able to do that, and, give me the egg and spoon race. Cool. Put me in the pool. I'll swim. Not a problem. Netball, I could kind of shoot. All right. Like give me those tasks that I could. And then I became quite good at volleyball. That was the funny thing. They only introduced volleyball in the final few years of school. And, by then I was known as the theatre kid. I was in all the musicals. I was in the orchestras. I was the choir like this. I was the singer of the school. I really was. And then all of a sudden I was good at this sport and the head of sport just didn't know what to do with it because she'd been so horrendous to me, for the majority of the time. And it actually got sent to the principal's office for a meeting between the head of sport and the head of music.
Oh, my God.
At Caulfield, we had Saturday morning sport, right? So it was compulsory that we did Saturday morning sport as part of all our lives, basically. And so because I wasn't particularly great at sports, I would go along and I'd either be a sub or I'd go along at school or I'd still do my time per se, but they never wanted to put me on to be competitive because I wasn't, particularly good at anything apart from netball or something like that. There wasn't too bad. So fine. But as part of my final few years of school, I'd started to get into my classical singing. And so I was studying Italian at TAFE on Saturdays, and that was a big conflict as well. So volleyball ended up being put on Friday evenings competitively rather than Saturday mornings. And that was the evening that we rehearsed the musical because the music department had certain days of the week that they rehearsed, right? And I was, of course, one of the leads in the show. So this whole thing gets sent to the principal and I'll never forget it because head of sport, head of music literally at it with each other in front of my principal.
Wow.
My principal, Stephen Newton, was just the most wonderful and glorious leader that I've ever come across. He was such a wonderful man. And he let them argue and here's me in my school uniform and I'm sitting there watching them both. Prove their arguments as to why I should be in the school show or why I should be, in the volleyball team. And then my principal said, Helena, do you have anything to say? And I stood up very slowly. I said, I'd like everyone to look at me, please. And I turned around in a very slow circle. I had my summer dress on, my summer uniform and my blazer. I said, everyone look very carefully at me. And I just really silently did this little circle and they're all sitting there thinking, what the hell is this child going to say? And I said, I'd like to pose a question to the room. Do I look like A, a future sportsman, or B, a future musician? If you had to pick one of the two in the physical presence that I have, what would you pick? And it's no one wanted to answer. And I said, I have sung since I can remember coming out of the womb. Music is my life. Music is what I am going to do with my life. It always has been. It always will be. I'm sorry it conflicts with volleyball, and I appreciate that you're being kind to me for the first time ever in my whole schooling life. But if you look at me, then I think we would all predict that if I had to choose if I was going to be a famous volleyball player or a famous, stage performer, it would probably be the latter for both physicality, mentally, and skill set of my life. And they all just kind of, whoa, and he just smiled. He just smiled and he went, yeah. And I think that's all we need to know. So everyone can just leave and we're done here, and it was done and it was glorious and we went on. But yeah, I hear you on the old humiliation front with health stuff. Totally.
Right. I'm conscious that we're running out of time because I know you've got to get off to your next thing. So very quickly, what's coming up over the summer? What have you got and what are people going to be looking forward to?
No one does anything in the summer here. It's disgraceful. So,
I know. It's so weird compared to the UK, right? UK is like prime opera time. It's so weird that we don't have that here.
Yeah. So next week I've got carols in the cathedral with the Royal Melbourne Philharmonic, which is fantastic. And we're doing 3 shows which are pretty much sold out. I know the Saturday is completely sold out, which is great. Friday the 19th and Saturday the 20th. So the 2 shows on the Saturday and then the Friday night as well. So that's my kind of Christmas concert, which is exciting. And then, I talked last time when we spoke about the fact that I'm off to Sydney. I'm off to Sydney this week to do these masterclasses and to work with the young artists at Opera Australia as well, doing some coaching with them. So terrorizing the youth of tomorrow. And then, the start of next year, I'm still running my Studio High Notes, working with a lot of the young kids who have time off from their teachers and things over the break, and they want to keep ready, keep fresh. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking to run a little summer intensive with some of them as well. So just helping them to keep vocally on top of things, which would be lovely. Giving their teachers a break and taking over a little bit just to help while I can, help while I'm around.
Yeah.
And I just had a coaching today with Raymond Lawrence on my Cenerentola. So the first big gig of the season is my debut as Clorinda in Cenerentola for State Opera South Australia. And I go up there to start rehearsing that in April. But
oh God, we'll be back by then though.
Yeah, we'll be back by then. But it's this time of summer will obviously be enjoying a bit of sunshine, which I haven't had the Australian sunshine in quite a long time. I haven't been here for summer in many, many years. But also just a diabolical time of role preparation for me, because I have 3 role debuts back to back next year. So for me, it's huge preparation time. Yeah. And getting on top of that, I've already started to learn the first one now, so that I'm able to get ahead of the game, as one would say. I'd just like to say, Rossini, I hate you, because I was coaching Act 1 of Cenerentola today, and there are so many words, so much to the point where Ray's like, should we do this in time? And I'm like, almost I felt like I was pushing out a baby, and I was doing that. Slowly was not a problem, and then I was like, "You mother," like he was just crying with laughter. It's like, Helena Dix, I've never heard you struggle. I was like, yes, well, bel canto is one thing when the words are like elongated, but when you've got 20,000 of them in one row, then not so much. So summer will just be, obviously we're settling in the new house. Our shipping arrives, and it's going through quarantine at the moment, which is really annoying, because I'm not going to say it on air because they'll probably charge me for something else that they're not supposed to.
They won't bring it. They'll just drop it.
I know that the quarantine team listen to our podcast, and it's obviously right up their alley. Yeah, who wouldn't? Yeah, correct. Ho, 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 and a bottle of rum. But it'll be really nice to have a family Christmas with everybody for the first time, all of us together for the first time in about, I would say,
for the first time in forever.
Probably about 18 years. So that'll be really nice.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
How about yourself? Are you taking any time off?
Yeah, taking off a little bit of time, and then there's a bit of prep for a mystery project that I can't really talk about yet. But there's a fun project that I'm working on with someone that I'll be able to chat about next year. Hopefully, by the time we're back, we will have launched it, and we can chat all about it.
Awesome.
But so there's a fair bit of prep for that over the summer, and that'll keep me pretty busy, I think, because some of it's going to test me out and actually get my skills back up.
He says with a laugh. Yeah.
He says with a laugh. Well, if I don't fall off something, then I'm going to call it a win.
Now, here's a question. You and I had talked about designing new questions for the new season, but I'm posing that we design our 5 questions, 5 rapid fire questions. I reckon we come in with new questions in the new year. What do you think?
Done. Let's do it. 5 rapid fire questions will be new. When our audience comes back in the new year, they're going to get to hear. They're going to get to hear 5 fantastic new questions.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to think of some outrageous ones. Yeah.
They've got to be rapid fire though. That's the only thing.
I know you don't think of rapid fire in me as I'm gonna condense my thoughts.
Well, I just heard you try to do Clorinda, like rapid fire. What are we doing? Come on. Hey, look, I know you have to run, so I'm going to call it here, and I'm going to say a huge Merry Christmas to everybody who's listening, who's been along for this fantastic journey so far this year. And we really can't wait to be back and chat with you all again in the new year with fantastic guests and the fun chats that we have.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, and a happy new year.
Yeah, that one. Sure.
Okay, shut up. That was good. I liked it.
Merry Christmas, everybody. And
Christmas!
I'm not going to say Merry Christmas to you, Helena, because I'll see you between now and then. We talk when we're not podcasting, so it's fine. But Merry Christmas to everybody else, and goodbye for now. We'll see you next year.
See you on the other side. Bye-bye.
Bye.